right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to recap a little bit about the purpose of this, just to cement some things, make sure we're getting back to first principles. And I want to add in something that's a little bit of a different way of thinking about our productivity cycle that I think can really help you, because your time with me ultimately is going to be limited, but I'm going to give you a tool or a technique that you can use for the rest of your life, that you can take away from here, that will really help you to constantly stay aware of the cycles of productivity as they come and go, right? So just to get back to first principles, these masterminds are really designed to help us become organized and productive. So the basic rule is to show up, put your camera on, and ask a question. This is the way you will get benefit. Okay, what my coach likes to say is closed mouths don't get fed. So if you have an issue, a problem, a concern, whatever, bring it to the group, because then we can put our mind on the problem, on the question, and a solution will emerge. It's kind of a magical process how these masterminds work. And most of you will be familiar with the mastermind theory by having read Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read it yet, obviously that is, it's almost like the required reading for this program. It's almost the course textbook. But the idea of the mastermind was made very apparent by Napoleon Hill. He wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, in which he interviewed 500 of America's most successful entrepreneurs, business people, people who are millionaires or billionaires, presidents of the USA even, and they all had a variety of things in common. And he distilled down the rules of success to 17 simple, what he called soldiers of success. Now, not every person had every one of these attributes as part of their life, but most of them had most of them. This group here for the Wednesdays, obviously is organization and productivity, but also wealth building and becoming rich or successful in any sense of the word is an unwritten sort of outcome of this. This is what we want to help you with, is building your organization and productivity so you can become successful and wealthy and healthy and have the life you want to lead. So of the 17 soldiers of success throughout my program, I want to help you grow every single one of these. But these masterminds in particular can be specifically beneficial for helping you identify your definite chief aim, developing a habit of saving or kind of paying yourself first, making sure that you take the time or the money or whatever you need in order to give yourself the best chance of developing yourself as a successful or wealthy or healthy individual. We also talk a lot about self-control. That's what those 4 daily tasks are doing. They're giving you a sort of a structure to your day to develop the self-control you need to then apply your will, your energy to any realm, any endeavor in your life. One of the best ways that you can show value to others is do more than you've been paid for. So if you've got a large contract, Joel, or Kenji, you've taken on an opportunity to do more than just what the cash value of the transaction was, right? If you're showing up this way for the people in your life, for the people in your business, you will have successful relationships of all kinds. These masterminds and being organized and productive would also help with your concentration. You'll be able to apply yourself with a really focused mind by applying yourself in this mastermind and with these courses. And recognizing that failure is a part of the path to success. And then, of course, in fact, I think every single person that Napoleon Hill interviewed for his book, Think and Grow Rich, had a group of people that they surrounded themselves with that were focused on success. Often that's financial, but we can choose who we want to be with. And if we choose people who are at least pointed in the direction of success, of growth, etc., then we naturally, we've changed our environment to be conducive to growth, right? And that is how we make that process of internal change towards where we want to be easier, by changing our environment. And our environment is not just the birds and the trees and the, all of the stuff we usually think of as an environment. Our environment is each other, is people. We live in a social matrix, right? We live in a social world. And so if we can, the more we can surround ourselves with like-minded individuals focused on success and wealth and happiness and doing more than paid for, etc., the better we will be at these things. And we will naturally, a rising tide lifts all boats. So that's kind of the idea behind the mastermind. And that's why we do this. In order to ensure that your life is not full of chaos and pressure and stress, I'm just going to read this again because I think this analogy captures exactly how to organize your life with the most important things first and let the little stuff come later. So I'm going to read it out. A professor sets a glass jar on the table. He silently places 2-inch rocks in the jar until no more can fit. He asks his audience if the jar is full. They agree, yes, it is. He says, really, and pulls out a pile of small pebbles, adding them to the jar, shaking it slightly until they fill the spaces between the rocks. He asks again, is the jar full? And they agree. He then adds some sand to the jar, filling the space between the pebbles, and asks the question again. This time, the class hesitates, some feeling that the jar is obviously full, but others are wary that there's another trick. The professor then grabs a pitcher of water and fills the jar to the brim, saying, if this jar is your life, what does this experiment show you? One of the audience answers, no matter how busy you think you are, you can always take on more. That is one view, replies the professor, and then says, the rocks represent the big things in your life, what you will value at the end of your life, your family, your partner, your health, fulfilling your hopes and dreams. The pebbles are the other things in your life that give it meaning, like your job, your house, your hobbies, your friendships. The sand and water represent the small stuff, the stuff that fills our time, like watching TV or running errands. Looking out at the class again, he asks, can you see what would happen if I started with the sand or the pebbles? Okay, so the obvious analogy, the obvious point of the analogy there is that if we get the first things first, if we get them things in the right order, then we can always add more stuff around it. There's always, if we've taken care of our hopes and dreams and all the things that lead us there, there's always a bit of time if you need to run an errand or watch a bit of TV or whatever. That stuff can fit around the rest of your life, right? But if we fill our life with watching TV, scrolling social media, running errands, then it's so much more difficult to then shake everything up and try to take time for ourselves and try to point ourselves in the right direction and be a little bit, let's say, selfish. And so this is one of the big challenges that a lot of you guys come up against when trying to get 4 hours for yourself each week. It's like, how do I fit in time for myself around all of the other things that I need to do? And clearly, obviously, we all struggle with this. Time management is difficult. But obviously, what's happened is simply that you've gotten some things in the wrong order. You've forgotten to take care of yourself first. All right. And so there's a little bit of friction, and it's a little bit difficult in the beginning to get that time for yourself. But almost invariably, everybody who actually does it ends up realizing, sorry, I'm muting you, Ted. Everybody who ends up taking the time for themselves, getting their 4 hours, realizes that, or wonders how they ever went without it. Right? How did you ever go through life working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and not have at least a little bit of time where you took to reflect and do the things that you love? Okay, so by joining this mastermind in this group, hopefully we're able to bring back into your life the things that you love that give it meaning first. And you'll easily fit around it, around a good and balanced and healthy life, all the things that need doing. Here's how I do it. The way I ensure that I always have some time is I schedule it in first. So I take Fridays off, and I make sure people know that I take Fridays off. Okay, so that when it comes to expectations about when I'm available, etc., there's a standing date that I have each week in my calendar. On Friday, I can do whatever I feel like. Now, sometimes I just need to rest, but other times I have so much energy that I want to go out and do something fun for myself, take a trip away, or even I'll make sure that my Thursday is less cluttered so I can get away and take not only Thursday night, but Friday night and the weekend as well, right? By having at least 4 hours blocked out each week for myself, I always ensure that my energy, even if I'm really busy for the week, my energy never gets so out of balance that I feel at that breaking point, that I feel burnt out. And I have been burnt out before. So I had to actually learn this the hard way. Right? And I cannot tell you how amazing it is to know that I have some time each week for myself. And I know the guys here who've done it for themselves have said the same thing. It's really an amazing thing. And then what I do is I ensure next is you guys. You guys and my family obviously are the next most important thing. It's my income and my family. So I ensure that there is time dedicated for you guys where I'm available. And, so we've got the Wednesday afternoons, we've got Friday night once a month, Sunday afternoon once a month, and then the daily sort of meetings. And I know with this structure, I've tried to keep it within the school hours. So from 10 a.m. till 2:30, that means that I've always got either a morning with my son or an afternoon, right? So I've always got that time there if I need it. And then, so this is what my calendar looks like sort of on any average week. But then almost every single day that I have is pretty filled. There's a lot of stuff that ends up filling around the sand and the water, right? So the days end up busy, but by having the structure first, by putting the big rocks in first, I know that time for me is there, time for my family is there, time for you guys is there, and then all the other errands, shopping, this or that, washing a car, or if I need to go to the doctor or something like that, that can be done, and there's flexibility. What this really comes down to is being able to evaluate and distinguish between what's important and what's urgent. Now, oftentimes we run around just doing the things that are really urgent, like putting out fires. Something pops up and we just have to take care of it because, a fire is something that you cannot ignore. And what happens is if we're not taking care of important things, we're only ever waiting until things get urgent, then we're always putting out fires. Okay? We wait until things become complete catastrophes until we take action. This could be with your work, this could be with your health, with your family. And sometimes that fire is too big to contain. And so it burns us. Right? And so we don't want to be there, or at least if we're there, we want to start figuring out how to not be doing what's urgent and start focusing more on what's important. The way we get to this situation is if we're focusing on things that are neither important nor urgent. This is sort of like, just scrolling social media, I think is the perfect example of something that is neither urgent nor important. And yet today, probably not so much the guys here, but a huge section of our society spends multiple hours every single day just on social media, scrolling and liking and commenting and whatnot, right? Complete waste of time. And it gets you nowhere. And it keeps you effectively a rat on a wheel. You're trapped in the matrix. The alternative, and another way that we do damage to our nervous system, is we do all of these urgent, stressful tasks that are not that important. So we're constantly responding to emails or text messages, or, someone comes in and dumps a problem on us. And as far as they're concerned, it's urgent, but for us, it's not important. So we respond in this reactive way, stressing us, but not ever really getting anything important done. So what we really want to be doing is living in this quadrant where we take care of the important things, our health, our well-being, our family, right? Our businesses, and ensuring that the important stuff is done. And if we do this well, if we live in the mode of taking care of what's important, and we're constantly taking care of what's important, turns out then things never become so urgent. Or if something comes up and it is urgent, we are able to take care of it in our flow. Okay, so if we're always taking care of our important things, so our health, our well-being, our business, our family, when something comes up, we can take care of it. Okay, and we can do it in flow, like Neo in the Matrix. That is the benefit of focusing on what's important first and letting everything else flow around you, right? One of the ways, I try to bring this in to your life in multiple ways. So these masterminds, we try to help focus on these things explicitly. But another big way that you can ensure that you're focusing on what's really important is each week I send you out a reminder to send me back your one thing, the thing that you're focused on, right? By knowing what your one thing is, what's most important for you at that moment, then you can ensure that you're constantly moving in the right direction and taking care of what's important. And one of the ways that we help evaluate your dedication to your own chief aim is through what we call the F by E scores, or FFE scores. So this is your faith by focus by effort. So we can imagine if we were had 70% faith in ourselves and were 70% focused on our chief aim and gave 70% effort. That sounds really good. We're like 70% across the board. It sounds like we will be doing enough work and being dedicated enough to our chief aim to be achieving our goals. But this multiplier effect, if you multiply fractions together, what ends up happening is, because we are only partially faithful in ourselves, only partially focused and partially effortful, this, despite it being 70% across the board, actually comes down to about a 34% effectiveness rating. So really the dedication we have to our one thing, our most important thing, is really only likely to be about 34% effective. So we really need to bump up our mindset, how much faith we have in ourselves, right? This is where the fear journaling and things comes in, making sure we're dumping our negativity. We're becoming aware of what thoughts are in our mind, and we're building towards our personal goal, making sure we are setting goals and nailing them. That builds faith in ourselves. If we trust that we can set a goal and smash it and hit it at least 85% of the time, if we have that dedication and that discipline, then we will build faith in ourselves. So that if we say, I'm going to say, make my bed every single day, right? And we say consciously, I'm going to do this, and then we do it, our unconscious mind knows that when our conscious mind says it will do something, it happens. Okay. The alternative is, if I say I'm going to do something simple like that and then do not do it, we build in what's called cognitive dissonance, where our conscious mind thinks one thing and our unconscious mind believes something else. So if I can't make a deal with myself where I say, I'll make my bed every day, but I don't do it, well, then how am I ever going to achieve my business goals? How am I ever going to achieve my life goals? How am I ever going to be there for my family and friends? Okay. So faith has to be built as an agreement between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, that when I say something, I will do it. And if you do that and you have faith and you build trust, then it really doesn't matter whether the decision is to make your bed or, build your fitness or build your business or become a millionaire or whatever it is. Your unconscious mind knows that when you say you'll do something, you'll do it. Okay. So that's how we build faith. And the focus just means that whenever we're doing something, we try to give it 100% of our attention. Meditation builds this habit, right? What we can do is we can say to the body, you are going to sit here. You're not going to get water. You're not going to get food. You're not going to go to the bathroom. You're not going to check your social media for 20 minutes. All you are going to do is sit and be, nothing else. Sit and be 20 minutes. It's not hard. If we can do this, this focuses us. It brings us into concentration. It means that we can choose to keep our body and our mind in one place. Yes, our mind can run around, or we can start to fall asleep or whatever, but we can focus our attention, we can focus our body, and we can be in one place. And then when we get up and we start moving around the world, we can choose our next target for our focus, making our bed or reading our book or whatever it is. Okay, so that's how we build the focus, is that we choose one thing to do and then we do it. And then effort, of course, is that making sure that each thing that you do to your best of ability. Okay, so you don't just, when you're making the bed, pull the sheet up. You actually make it look nice and finish it. When you're going to achieve your personal goal, you're going to meditate. You don't meditate for 18 minutes. You meditate for 20 minutes. All right. You try to achieve your personal goal every single day. right? You do it to the best of your ability. And if you can get these basic things, then those numbers rise dramatically, okay? And then that brings us to our productivity cycle. As we've done before, and we will do again, we go through this 4-step process. There's collecting the things in our life that we want to achieve, processing them into some sort of logical order, doing them, so taking action, and then coming back to a place in which we evaluate our behavior, evaluate our systems, evaluate ourselves. Okay, so we first collect, we process, we do, and we review. The collection process is creative. This is a chance for us to think about the things we want to do, the goals we have for our life, what we want to bring in. The process is logical, it's analytical. It engages the rational mind, the problem-solving mind. The do is potentially the most important thing, is that this is us taking action. Without action, nothing will get done. Action is how we align our conscious and our unconscious mind so that we can build that faith, so that we can focus on what we want to do, and that's how we build our effort levels, okay? And of course, by reviewing, by evaluating, then we can improve every single cycle. Okay, so the collection process is the minimum action you can take towards any goal whatsoever. It's just to write it down, have some sort of record of what you want to achieve, okay? It doesn't have to be practical. It can be the wildest, craziest, most boneheaded achievement. You know, it doesn't matter. Just record it, put it down. And then when you process it, that's when you start to think, okay, what steps do I need to take? What time frame am I looking at? You know, how do I do this efficiently? What needs to be prioritized? What things can I group together so that I don't have to do 20 separate things? I can do like a bunch of things together and get it done efficiently. If you're finding difficulty actually getting things done, there's one of two options you can take. One is do the hardest first, get that big win, and by comparison, everything seems easy from there. The other option is start as small as you possibly can. Get any win possible. Make your bed. That's all you need to do. If you do that, great, done. The rest of the day is a win, no matter what else happens. Okay, so you can start small and build up. But try to get that win early and do something that will benefit your life, make your life better. And then finally, we want to ensure that we're building into our day, into our week, into our month, our life, plenty of time to think about where we're going. You know, what's meaningful, what's purposeful, how have we worked? Have our actions actually been aligned with our purpose? Are we doing what we think is right? And this leads me to the little trick I'm going to give you that you can take away from here into any future endeavor you want to do. Okay, and this is aligning your actions with the cycles, the natural cycles of the moon. So one lunar month is 28 days, right? So it's about a month. And this gives us a natural calendar to work with. So the way we can do is we can start our month. I know that there's an intuitive reason to start at the new moon, but I would say we actually start at the full moon. This is the end of our month and the start of our month. This is why we have full moon parties, right? Celebrate the full moon. Start taking notice of where the moon is in its natural cycle. Does anyone actually know where the moon is right now?
Check.
Did you say in the sky, Joel? Yeah. Thanks,
I
mate.
think it's roughly like half the first quarter. Is it first quarter at the moment? Or going into third quarter? I'm not too sure.
So you reckon around here?
Yeah, it's roughly about half moon at the moment.
It could also be second quarter or fourth quarter, and
Shout out.
apologies.
Shout out.
Not ambiguous, Carl. There is a single answer. Kenji, correct. You're working outside on the property, so you're probably more exposed to the moon than most people.
Yeah, I see the moon every day.
But actually, this
yeah,
go on.
No. Just saying. Yeah, good to check every day.
Yeah, absolutely. But this actually reveals, you know, the moon was humans' first calendar. It has played an enormous part in humanity's guiding of rituals, of productivity, seasonality, right? It's an amazing tool. And so from when you leave this program, whenever you look in the sky, you have a calendar available to you, you know. And so we are between the first quarter and in a waxing gibbous phase, which means we're coming up to the full moon, which is a great reason to celebrate. This is, you know, all across the world, there are rituals and celebrations and ceremonies associated with the full moon. Okay, so the full moon is a perfect time to celebrate the end of your month, the end of your productivity cycle, and to start to reflect on what things you'd like to do for the next cycle, right? We've talked all through the last few months about how there are natural cycles in the world with our energy through the day, through the week, through the month. But when we use, what is it? It's a waxing gibbous, is it? Yeah, 75%. So we're here. And so when it comes to the full moon, we can use that as our review time, and then we can start to collect our thoughts, and then we can start to ensure that we're building up our productivity cycle again, so that we are collecting through the waning and the third quarter into the waning crescent, and through the new moon and the waxing crescent, we're in our highly, highly productive phase, all the way till about now when we start to review and come into our celebratory full moon again. Okay, so this is a natural calendar you can use so that even if you fall off the wagon and you get into a slump or whatever, you've always got this mechanism to calibrate yourself to. You know, we've used the metronomes in the past, that analogy of coming into harmony with the natural cycles around us. Well, this is one of the very powerful natural cycles around us. And if we can actually align our energy with the moon, we actually will gain energy. We will gain productivity and efficiency, etc. So one thing I would like to recommend is use this 1 week between now and the full moon as an integrated collect, process, do, review cycle. Okay, so this is a chance to collect the things that you want to do, immediately process them, take action on them, and review your system. Try to do them all in as one integrated sort of process. And then come the full moon, which is next week, we're going to start going through a slightly different journey. So I'm going to take you on what's called the hero's journey from here on out for the next few months. And we're going to use the moon and natural cycles, and we're going to talk about things like archetypes and how to align ourselves with greater forces to ensure that we are more and more productive and more efficient and more aware, and our lives are full of more meaning. Okay, so that's what's coming. I'd say take this week. We're not going to start the new collect cycle until the full moon, but use this week between now and next week to start getting your system really running smoothly, making sure your Evernote system is working properly. Whatever other systems you use, calendars, Notion, Instapaper, notes, whatever, get them all cleaned up. One thing that I really like to do around this time, I go through and I clear out my computer desktops. I close all my tabs. I clear out my, my downloads folder. I delete things from my computer's trash. I like to reset my entire computer system. And so that when I come back to it, I'm ready to launch into a new cycle, everything is starting fresh. The computer runs more smoothly. The web browsers run more cleanly. My desktop looks clean. It's inviting. It invites me to take action in a focused way. So I'd say use this next week to clear the clutter out of your electronic systems as well as your physical systems. Make sure your bedroom looks good. Make sure you're making your bed. Clean out your closets, whatever. Just declutter. Okay. And then we're going to go after this full moon. So the full moon is going to happen between now and our next meeting. So celebrate, enjoy, find something to celebrate. Have a dinner with the family, or just enjoy the beautiful luminosity of the moon. And then next week, we're going to get into the collect.